Okay, we're live. So good day, everybody, and welcome to our BPMN MIWG demo. Today we're coming live to you from the OMG technical meeting in Berlin, and the Model Interchange Working Group will do a demonstration of various scenarios. Here's the list of our participating vendors into this event. We will have a demonstration from the Model Interchange Working Group where we're demonstrating different interchange of the BPMN standard. The Model Interchange Working Group is a group reuniting a bunch of vendors in creating and facilitating interchange between the different vendors that implements the standard. You can find our house at the wiki here that you can find the link at the bottom. So today we want to do 3 different scenarios of model interchange using the BPMN standard. The first scenario, we will do a diagram interchange. So we will start from a blank page, and then various tools will actually iteratively construct a model to get a final model created at the end. Our second scenario, we will actually start from a model that already exists, and different tools will add hidden attributes, so attributes to the model that are visible in the diagram but are still part of the BPMN model will be added in the background, and we'll show at the end how these attributes were maintained from tool to tool. And the final demonstration will be of an executable scenario. So we'll start from a scenario that is executable, and we'll have different tools modify, actually change labels on the different activities, and finally execute that same model on 3 different engines. So the first diagram that we will create is this diagram here. And this diagram, this BPMN diagram, will be created in bits and pieces by different vendors and assembled on the fly to get to the final results. So here's the scenario that we will follow. We'll have Tim on YOCAM tool, Zbigniew on the BOC tool, JD on the Sparks tool, Falco on the BPMN IO tool that will all start in parallel, creating different parts of the same model. And then Kamunda will add on to the BOC part and W4 to the Spark portion, and we'll assemble these in Signavio and in Trizatec Visio Modeler, and then assemble everything in the Trizatec BPMN Modeler to finally show the results in the GenMy model tool. So without further ado, let's switch to our model interchange. So the first work that will take place is Tim on YOCAM. And we have Zbigniew on the BOC tool working. So they're each working on different pieces of the model. And we have JD on the Sparks tool, also working on a different portion of the same diagram. And we have Falco on BPMN IO. So each of them are creating different portion of that same diagram. So Zbigniew here working on BOC. Falco on BPMN IO. JD on the Sparks tool here. And Zbigniew is working on the BOC tool. So each is working on a different portion of the diagram, and all these different portions of the diagram are sent to a Dropbox that we're all sharing and exchanging between ourselves here. So Tim is done now with the Yoakum portion, and Falco is done with the BPMN IO portion. So Falco is done with his portion of the diagram here, and Tim here is done with his portion on the Yoakum tool. So now we also have Zbigniew that's working, and JD that's working on the Sparks tool. Now Tim, so Zbigniew is done. So Zbigniew's done with his portion of the diagram. And so now, as per our scenario here, we will have Camunda that will add to the portion that was done by BOC, and W4 that will add to the portion that is done by Sparks. So Falco, with the Camunda modeler now, is going to take the input from BOC. And now JD is done with his portion on the Spark modeler that we see here. And we have W4 with Francois that will start picking up the work from Spark and add to it. So we'll go back here to Falco, who's editing the content that he received from BOC and adding to it. And we have Francois from W4 adding to the portion that they received from Sparks and augmenting the diagram. So each tool are building up on the work of the previous tool, all going on in parallel. So Falco is now done with assembling the different portions that they receive from BOC and the Camunda tool. So now we have Stephen from Signavio, who's going to take the results that come from Yoakum, the early portion that was done from Tim on Yoakum, and we'll also take the output from the Camunda tool and assemble it together and add to it. And Simon from Trizatec has already started assembling the pieces from BPMN IO and is waiting for the results from Francois from W4, who just completed, and is sharing this through the Dropbox. And so Simon, who's presently in Montreal, he's our remote person right now in Montreal, running with us here in Berlin. So he will assemble the work of W4. In the meantime, we can look at Stephen, who's assembling the work he received from Camunda and Yoakum and adding to that portion of the model. Did you drop Francois, did you drop the file? Okay. So we have Simon here assembling the work from W4 and assembling the work from BPMN IO into the Visio modeler. So this is done within Visio with the Trizatec extension. And we have Stephen assembling the work from Camunda and Yoakum and adding to it. So we're really piece by piece building the model in different tools that are exchanging these pieces through the BPMN Interchange file format, so we can create a collaborative end results in the end. So Simon just completed in the Visio tool the portion that assembled W4 and BPMN IO. And Stephen is completing his additions to the work that was done. And he will, now Stephen will save that work into Dropbox. And now Simon will take the results of the assembly that he's done in the Visio modeler, and now we'll move in the web modeler, the BPMN web modeler from Trizatec, and assemble the work that was created by Signavio with the work that was done in the Visio add-on to create the complete assembly of the model. So now that Signavio just contributed, you see the file appearing in the Dropbox, and Simon can pick it up from there and actually put it in the file and then add some more details to that file. And then once Simon is completed with assembling the full file, then he will put the results also in Dropbox, and Thomas from GenMyModel will open the resulting file in yet another tool that will make it 11 by the time we reach the part from Thomas. So Simon is running the animator through the file to show that although the file was assembled from various tools, we can still run through the behavior of the BPMN model that was created and assembled through all the different tools. So Simon will now save it to Dropbox, and we'll move to Thomas. So Thomas now with GenMyModel will go and pick up this fully assembled model. And now you can see the fully assembled model that was created from the start into GenMyModel in there. So to go back to our scenario, we had Yokyam and BOC that created some pieces to which Camunda added and then was assembled in Signavio. Sparks and BPMN IO started some parallel pieces. We added from the Camunda and W4, and then we assembled this in the BPMN add-on to Visio, and then finally in the BPMN web modeler from Trizatec we assembled Signavio, and the Visio tool then showed it in GenMyModel. So that was our first scenario. Then we'll set up to move to our second scenario. So while everybody connect and reconnect. So the second scenario is we're starting with a diagram that already exists, where we only have the diagram portion, and then each of the tool are going to add attributes that are not visual, but still part of the model. So now we want to show that we can interchange properly not only what the diagram is, but what's populated under the diagram. So the scenario is going to be sequential, and I'll let everybody narrate what they're doing, each in their part. So we're going to start with SAP. That's going to do some addition, pass it to Signavio, pass it to BOC, pass it to W4, and pass it to Trizatec, pass it to Camunda, pass it to BPMN IO, ITP Commerce, and finally to Spark. And then when we're done, we'll go back and open the file and go show into the file these attributes that were populated in there. So let me switch again to our broadcast. So the first element that will be done is going to be with Madoud from SAP. So I will let Madoud now narrate what he's doing.
Okay, all right. So first of all, I will import the initial model. This is it. Now the tool is importing the model. Here you can see it. And now I will set the is executable hidden attribute to true, which means I mark the process as executable. I save it and export the model again. That's it.
So now the same model is going to be opened by Steven in Signavio. As soon as the file becomes available through Dropbox.
Should be there.
There it is.
Okay, now I'm importing the file I received from SAP. Opening up the model. Now we're looking into the attributes and check if the is executable attribute is set. As you can see here, it is set. Then I'm taking the analyze customer request task and will change the start quantity attribute, which is now set to 1, will switch to 2, and will set the completion quantity attribute to 2 as well. Now I will save the model, export it to the Dropbox, and we're done.
Okay. So now we will move to BOC and Zbigniew. As soon as the file becomes available in Dropbox, Zbigniew can pick it up and do some addition with the BOC tool. Okay, so the file should be appearing soon. Here it is.
Okay, so I'm importing the file from Signavio.
Note that the diagram is always the same, and we're just adding more and more information in the model that is supporting the diagram.
Okay, the model is imported, and now I'll present you the additional attribute. First, I'll switch the mode to show more advanced technical attributes. And in the notebook, you can see that I have the start quantity and completion quantity as it was set in Signavio. Now, I'll add boundary event. And it will be timer event 2 hours. So I add name, assign proper type, and duration. The last thing I need to do is to add a sequence flow. And now I'm exporting the file.
So now that Zbigniew is done and exporting his file to the Dropbox, Simon from Trizatec will pick up the file that is now, oh, sorry, W4 Benjamin. I was skipping a step here, sorry. So Benjamin will pick up the file from W4 and built on the work that was done by BOC, the Adonis tool.
So I'm starting by copying the file exported by Adonis, renaming to W4, and importing it into W4 Composer. No, that's not it. Yeah. Here is the file. So first off, I'm going to show you that the information entered by Adonis are still there. We can see the boundary event. I go to properties, event definition. We can see that the timer is set to 2 hours. What I want to do now is to add a potential owner to the first task, analyze customer request. To do that, I'm going to add a resource that would be a user. I'm going to name it user. And now I'm going to add the potential owner. This will be the resources that can handle this user task. I'm referencing the resource I just created, saving the file, and copying it into Dropbox.
So now Benjamin is exporting his file to the Dropbox. And now Simon from Trisatec will go and pick up that file. Simon, you're muted.
Okay, I apologize for that. I was muted. Is it better now?
Much better.
Okay, all right. So I was saying, I'm just going to restart a little bit. I was saying that I'm using the Trisatec BPMN modeler to import the work that W4 just did. So if I go into the Analyze Customer Request here and I look into its attributes, I can see the potential owner that was defined here, the user. So I'm going to improve a little bit that model with more hidden attribute. I'm going to add a intermediate event here of type message that I'm going to create an hidden attribute for. That I'm going to create a message called service level, and I'm going to add a flow to go to premium there. And I will save all that to the Dropbox folder. It should be available in a few seconds.
Now that the work is available from Trisatec, we'll move to Falco, and he will edit it in the Camunda modeler.
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'm opening the file that Simon just provided. And I will first of all show that this message event is still having the according request message here. And in addition, I will also add some new stuff here. I'm going to change the sequence flow condition of the sequence flow and say I want to have something here like service level equals premium. Okay, with that bit I save it and directly use another tool also from Camunda, which is called BPMN IO. And in this tool I will just change something on a visual level, because so far the tool cannot modify technical hidden attributes. But what we will see in the end is that also this tool, even though it can't edit them, it will preserve these. Okay. Now I'll save the file. And upload it to Dropbox.
Okay. So now that Falco is uploading the file to Dropbox, we will switch to Antonio from ITP Commerce.
Okay, so file is synchronizing. There it is. I'm just going to grab it on Dropbox and import it in our tool. This one here. Just give it a couple of seconds to load. I'm just gonna rename it. And there it is. So we can see the label change here done by BPMN IO. Then if we look at this sequence flow here, come on. Sorry for that. I'm struggling with my mouse pad. Here we go. Look at the condition expression. Service level equals premium is still here. That's what was set by Camunda Modeler. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the implementation of this task. And I'm going to set it from unspecified to web service. And export the file back to Dropbox.
So now we're going to move to JD and Spark System.
Okay, so as soon as... Oh.
So we're going to move to the JD with the Spark System. We'll take the results from ITP Commerce.
Wrong file. Trying to import the physical file. All right, so first thing I want to do is take a look at the implementation that was set by ITP Commerce. So look at the execution and note that it is still a web service. If you import that correctly, we'll go to the next gateway and change that from diverging to unspecified, and all of the rest of those attributes are available from various kinds of drop downs that are available. I'll save the diagram and export this. As BPMN and change the name. Oops, let's find the right dialog.
Okay. So while JD is exporting his file, so again, go back to our scenario. We started with SAP, and then augmented it with Signavio, BOC, W4, Trizatec, Camunda, BPMN IO, ITP Commerce, and Spark. And then we'll return back to Benjamin, who will show us some of the attributes that were done on the file there.
So, okay. So I'm opening the last export of the file. Oh, sorry, my screen is not shared. It should be. It should be shared. I'm sorry. I don't know why it doesn't show, because it says it is shared. You can try to reconnect. Yeah, I'm gonna just.
Okay, well, Benjamin is refreshing his screen, so we've basically again moved from tools to tools here, and what Benjamin is setting up to show us is these attributes that are in the background. So here we go.
Okay, it's better now. So here is the last export of the file in a text editor, and I'm gonna show you a few of the hidden attributes we added. The first one was the isExecutable attribute. We can find it here on the process, and you can see it is set to true. Next up, I'm gonna show you the implementation on a user task. We can see that on the user task, the implementation is last one. I'm going to show the gateway direction added by Sparks. Oh. Excuse me. Gateway direction. Maybe I didn't take the right file. Sorry, I don't. So that's 2 and 3.
Okay, so we've shown now that some of these attributes got carried on there. So our next step is to our last scenario. And our last scenario is an executable model. So we're starting from a model that is already fully executable on different engines. So it has all the required information to execute on 3 different engines in it. And this is the model you see, the diagram you see on the screen. We're going to start with just the labels of that diagram. And a different modeling tool will add labels on the diagram without changing what's in the end. We'll execute this model on 3 different engines. So our scenario is as follows. We're going to have BPMN IO. Starting from an executable model, BPMN IO will add to it, then BOC and Trizatec, and from there on, will execute the model on the W4 engine, the Camunda engine, and the OmniLink engine in parallel. So let us switch to our demo presentation. So the first work will be done by Falco in a BPMN IO tool.
Yes, exactly. So can you hear me? Okay. So I'm opening the original model. As I said, it's already executable. I will just add some labels to it to give it some more sense. And this process itself is an invoice processing process. So we will see that in action in the end. So I'm just saving my results here, and I will push them to Dropbox.
So as soon as the file becomes available, even from Signavio, we'll pick it up. So the file just arriving.
So I'm importing the file I just received from BPMN IO. We'll open it up. We'll see that the task renamed by BPMN IO is imported correctly. I'll rename the second task to approve invoice. Save the model. And export it back to the Dropbox.
So we're now going to move from the results of Signavio to BOC. And you've probably noticed that there's still a few tasks that don't have labels, and those are added. So as soon as the file becomes available, Zbigniew will pick it up in the BOC to Adonis. Sorry, here's the file.
Okay, so I'm done. So I'm importing the file. Okay, the file is there. As you can see, what I need to do is to add a missing task name here. So I name it Prepare Bank Transfer. And now I export it.
So Zbigniew is just completing his work. And it's now available. So now we're going to switch to Simon in Montreal.
Yep. Can you hear me now? Yep. Okay. So I'm going to import. Oh, I'm getting feedback. I'm renaming this task, the last one, to archive invoice.
Simon has not completed his work. So what we're going to do is add all the different engines, the W4 engine, the Camunda engine, and the OmniLink engine, pick up the resulting file at the TriStack output and bootstrap their engine to execute that file. So all three files will execute the process, and we'll go and let them show us the execution of one of the particular tasks within this process and show how it goes. So going back to our environment, we can see that Falco and Camunda has imported the model and is going to initiate execution. And Benjamin in W4 is doing the same. And Tim in Untitled is doing the same. So they're setting up now their engines, importing that model in, so they can initiate execution of this model. So what we're really showing is the fact that these engines can pick up files that were modified by different vendors and still execute the file. So we can see here Falco is ready with the execution from Camunda. So Falco.
Yes, so I deployed this process to Camunda BPM platform, and I'm going to start the process in our task list. And associated to a task is a little form which asks me to upload an invoice so that this invoice can be processed. And I will just take some random invoice of travel expenses. Okay. So now the process has a user task assigned to me. And we can also see where I am in the process model. So now we see also the task name here. And well, to work on this invoice and process it further, we can see the actual file that I uploaded, and I can now define what this is. Okay. So that was the first step. I'm not sure. My colleagues are already ready to continue.
Yes, so Tim from OmniLinks will then execute the same model.
Can you hear my microphone? Is that okay? Okay, so this is the OmniLink interface. I've uploaded the file. There's some file selection here. You can see the result of various processes I have deployed. And this is the one that you will recognize from earlier on. I've already started the process here so that I don't have to show you what Falco has already shown me in there. So if we go over to the work queue, I can see that I have some instances down here. I can see the history. If I go over to my work queue, I have here a task to approve the invoice for this user, which I'm approving my own invoice. That's probably not so great on the governance. I'm going to say it's not approved. You complete that task. And we see that right now it is sitting in a waiting clarification, which is the JVM, as you see there.
So in there you also notice that we have a little bit of multi-language going. We have English and German mixed into the model, so that doesn't affect any of the tools. And now we'll move to W4 for the execution in their engine. So yeah, so we're just as we're waiting for Benjamin to connect, let me refresh your mind a little bit about what the model is here. So we have this invoice approval, there's an assignment of approver, then the invoice is approved or rejected, as was shown by Falco, the assigned approver, and Tim demonstrated when the approved invoice is rejected, it goes to the German portion that I cannot pronounce. And now we'll move to Benjamin to see a different portion of the execution.
It's coming.
So Benjamin is having some issue connecting with the Hangout, so we'll just wait for him to join us. So we have different engines that are running the same model. So what that means in practice is that when we started, the model already had all the information required of each of the engines. So it wasn't just a single environment, it was a multi-vendor environment that got yet augmented by more vendors on the modeling level, so that we now get to the execution. So I see Benjamin is rejoining the Hangout, and as soon as we can share the screen, we'll go to the W4 execution. Here we go.
Okay. So I sent the model to the engine. I'm gonna do the quick execution. I'm connecting as the first user. I'm creating a process instance. That's the first task, assign approver. Delete. Now I'm gonna log in as the approver. The approver has received the task, but he will not approve it. So I'm connecting again as team assistant. So you can clarify the statement. Yes, it is clarified. So the task is sent back to the approver. Which this time will validate the task. Yes, it is approved. That leads us to the content.
So as Benjamin is walking through this instance, Falco and Tim have completed their runs. So we can now go and see some of the trace on OmniLogic. And Tim, do you want to comment on the trace?
Yes, so back here in the process definition list, we have the picture and the column information that we showed you earlier. Now, when I open up the instance to see the full history, we have all of the events that have taken place from the point where the invoice was received down here, through the rejection, the clarification, and some of the steps that we didn't show you are preparing the invoice, archiving the invoice, until we reach the end events where the invoice has been processed.
And then we can go and look at the trace on the Camunda engine with Falco.
Yes, so in Camunda it looks kind of similar. You have the process model, you have a trace of everything what happened in the process. That trace is also nicely visualized on the model, so you can see even these activities in the middle have been executed 2 times. And you can also have a look at the data of the process, so I can see what I entered here and really review my process and execution.
And then we can look at the trace on the W4 execution with Benjamin.
Here we can see the history of the process. We can see that it goes instantiate, and then we can see the different users task, assign approver, approve invoice, review invoice, then approve invoice again, repub and transfer, the service task at the end, and the end of the process instance.
So this was our execution example scenario. We like to thank you for attending this demonstration. We actually demonstrated 3 scenarios done by 11 vendors using 13 different tools in 3 different scenarios, going from simple diagram building to hidden attribution modification, all the way to full execution in 3 different engines. Thank you for attending our session. We'll stop our broadcast now. And thank you again.